Hello, welcome to another 7C video. In this video, I'm going to cover loaded keywords and some basics on picking out a starting crew. A number of keywords have no additional rules with them. Those keywords are like heroic, villainous, topman. A lot of these keywords are just on the card in bold, and other cards refer to crew with that keyword or cards with that keyword. So another example would be like grappling gun. It's an attachment. It has an item keyword, and there's cards that refer to items. However, there are some keywords that have some additional rules associated with them, and I'm going to cover them here. First one I want to start with is Sorcery. Some crew, like this one, has Forte 1, and Alicio has Fate 1. These different types of magic are referred to as Sorcery. So, the different types of Sorcery are Forte, Fate, Glamour, Purium, and Scry. There is another keyword that's very similar to a sorcery, Fear. It should really be noted, Fear is not a sorcery type, but it looks a lot like it, so you just have to know in the rulebook it says that explicitly that this is not included. But aside from that, this is what all of these crew here on the right, the non-fear ones, these are all sorcerers. So some cards like this say, sink a sorcery knack attached to one of your crew to untap that crew, sink this card. So a sorcery knack would be like Porte 1 Knack on special gift. Or this card here, Sparrowhawk, says Purium 1 Knack. So these are both sorcery knacks, since as we covered, these were all the types of sorcery, and they're a knack. Next topic I'll include are various keywords that would be on crew. One of them would be loyal. Loyal means that you can only hire this crew if your captain shares that faction. This is a good point to cover different types of crew that can be in your starting crew. If your captain has a faction, they can have any crew with the same faction in your starting crew, as long as you're meeting, the requirements of the limit of wealth you have. And you can have unaligned crew in your starting crew as well. Unaligned captains, however, can only have unaligned crew in their starting crew. So an example, unaligned is another keyword that's not explained anywhere. You kind of have to know that Durkire here has no faction symbol on the left-hand side, so he's considered unaligned. There might be cards that say if your crew have a different faction symbol than blank, it doesn't apply to Durkire because he has no faction symbol at all. He's just unaligned. And Barrack, meanwhile, has a faction symbol. While we're talking about different symbols, on the right-hand side is membership, and the next one is nationality below it. Nationality is always the shield. There are 3 different types of shields, and the membership is always that circle. It should be noted these were added in later sets. They weren't really developed too much, and they don't come up too often. But in order to kind of connect these, you have to look at the rulebook or memorize what the different icons and names are. So, for example, Durkire has a Der Cruiser membership. There's also a card that's an attachment here, and this could attach to a different captain and give them that type of affiliation or membership. See here, there's the keyword membership on this card. So just note that anybody with the icon has a membership. Anybody with the membership card gains a membership based on the icon on the card. It doesn't come up too often. It's in the last couple sets. There were a handful of cards, but it's just something to keep in mind. Also, unaligned ships versus faction ships. Some attachments say that they are like a Sea Dog ship attachment. They would have to have this icon to go on it. The Barrack can use this ship since it has the same icon, but Barrack can also use unaligned ships. Meanwhile, the Kyre can only use unaligned ships, and the Kyre can only pick unaligned crew in his starting crew. Moving along, another loaded keyword is Swordsman. So Swordsman, when they deal hits in a boarding, they deal hits equal. All crew deal hits equal to their swashbuckling, but Swordsmen deal an additional number of hits equal to their Swordsman bonus. So Maria here will deal 4 hits from the swashbuckling and then an additional 3 for a total of 7 hits. So that's one of the aspects of Swordsman as a loaded keyword. The other thing about loaded Swordsman is they can only attach knacks equal to their Swordsman number. So Maria can attach 3 knacks of Swordsman knacks onto her. So Roger's School is a Swordsman knack. Advanced Swordsmanship is a Swordsman attachment. And Monte Musketeers can only attach 1 because they're Swordsman +1. Moving along. Unique is another loaded keyword. Unique means that you can only have one in copy at a time. Another, I think I covered loyal a little bit before, but let me just specify a little more about loyal. You can only hire loyal crew if your captain has the same symbol. If your captain doesn't have the same symbol, you can hire non-loyal crew. Let me see if there's an example here. Lion John Fox, for example, does not have the loyal keyword, so another captain could hypothetically play this in the deck. They can't start it in their starting crew, but later in the game, they could hire Lion John Fox and have him on their crew since he does not have that. Moving along, Lion John Fox does have another keyword that I wanted to talk about, and that is experienced. One of the actions you're allowed to do is experience a crew member out. So let's say I have Timothy LeBeau out and play on my ship. And I had this character, the experienced version of him, in my hand. As an action, I can place the experience over the regular version for free, and then the old version would go into my discard pile. Any attachments that were on the one that was in play would transfer over to the experienced. Also, the experienced crew comes into play tacked or untacked, just like the other. And let's say that the experience, sometimes the undead crew brought back crew that had died in the storyline. They have this, the same, they're loyal to the undead, to Black Freighter. They might be unique and they might be experienced. You cannot experience a crew with a loyal crew of a different faction. So you need to obey those rules when experiencing a crew. It needs to be a crew that you could legally hire otherwise. Another keyword to keep in mind is control. So there are some attachments and some adventures that become attachments that have the control keyword. Control was an alternate win condition introduced. The way control works is if a player has a control attachment on each of the 5 Cs at the end of the turn, they win the game. So that's a special thing to keep in mind with control. Another thing too is with the sorcery knacks, some sorcerers have a knack of 1, sometimes they might have a knack of 2. Keep in mind when you look at the knack, it tells you how much is required to be able to attach the knack. So here, special gift requires a Porte 1 knack. So we can attach to either Timothy LeBeau because he has 1, or the other. These knacks and a lot of the other knacks are not like Swordsman. Swordsman are unique where they're limited by the number. Sorcerers can attach any number of knacks because any other knack can be attached. A crew can hold any number of knacks. It's only the swordsman knack that are limited by the skill, as specified in the rulebook. Last thing to note is when you're attaching a knack, you need to have enough of that skill to attach it. So here's an example of Between Heaven and Earth requires Sailing 7 knack. So your crew, at the time of attaching it, needs to have Sailing of 7. And that covers all of the basic loaded keywords and just things to know about hiring crew, starting crew, everything else. The only other one to mention is First Mate. It's not loaded, but it comes up a lot. There's a lot of cards that key off of that. You can have more than one First Mate at a time, so just know about that. There's nothing special about that one, even though you might think that there might be. All right, and that covers all the loaded keywords. Thanks for watching this video.